This captain always kept a note tucked away in his wallet that read, "Better a delay than a crash." But on this particular day, shortly after takeoff, the plane struck a flock of birds. The engines were severely damaged, and the aircraft began to lose power. To make matters worse, both engines failed simultaneously. The plane began to shake violently. In that moment, the captain had no time to react. The plane was already in a descent. Then John made a perfect move. He restarted the engines. Immediately afterward, he activated the auxiliary power unit, forcibly restoring power to the cabin. Meanwhile, the flight attendants calmed the passengers and had them fasten their seatbelts, calmly assuring them it was just turbulence. Then, following John's instructions, the first officer retrieved the operations manual to find the procedure for handling engine failure. Immediately after, John called the control tower and reported the emergency. The controller ordered all flights to divert immediately. The situation was getting even worse, so he made a bold decision. The captain told all the passengers to duck down and brace for impact. Meanwhile, the control tower was still scrambling to find a nearby airport for landing. But John, with 40 years of experience, he knew that landing in the river was the best option. Suddenly, the aircraft's tracking signal on the screen vanished. The controller kept calling out, but there was still no response. Inside the cabin, everyone was silently praying. Some even left final messages for their families far away. Then John gripped the control yoke tightly, carefully adjusting the aircraft's altitude. John said they would definitely come to a stop. Then a huge splash echoed through the air. The plane actually landed smoothly on the river's surface. The fuselage did not break apart. Only one flight attendant on board suffered minor injuries. Everyone survived. John immediately rushed out of the cockpit, directing the passengers to evacuate. They deployed the emergency slides. Then all the cabin doors opened. Everyone waited on the wings for rescue. Coast Guard officers quickly arrived on the scene to launch the rescue operation. Only after the last passenger had been safely evacuated did John remain alone on the plane. He wanted to make sure no one had been left behind. After retrieving the flight log, he finally boarded a lifeboat. Once the rescue was complete, John refused to rest. He anxiously asked for the number of passengers, but they didn't know the exact figure. It wasn't until the commander brought the accurate report. All 156 passengers and crew members landed safely. John created a miracle in aviation history. He became a hero to everyone. But what awaited him next was not a celebration, but an investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board, armed with data calculated by engineers. They questioned John skeptically if he had enough power to return. Why did he risk the lives of everyone on board? John explained that when he decided to turn back, he realized it was no longer feasible to return safely, and that doing so would have doomed everyone on board. They then asked John to calculate all the parameters. John replied that they simply didn't have time to calculate. He had relied on his years of flying experience to estimate the altitude. The safety officers were clearly unsatisfied with this explanation. They trusted only computer simulations and even began to question John's mental state. They tried to find fault with him. John said he had gotten plenty of sleep and had no health issues, but the safety officers still wouldn't let John off the hook. They said they would run the simulation again. John then offered to oversee the simulation process, but they ruthlessly refused. Currently, public opinion remains firmly on John's side. Reporters have already gathered outside John's home. John is now trapped in a hotel, waiting for tomorrow's second hearing.